This is Neil Schneider for MTBS-TV at CES 2014. I'm joined by Alfred Chong, CEO of Nanoveu, makers of iFly 3D. Welcome to the program, Alfred.
Thank you.
Now tell us about iFly 3D. What is it?
Well, it's a piece of plastic that really, when you apply that over any kind of a high-resolution phone, converts that into 3D. One of the unique things about this piece of plastic, it's got nanotechnology built in, so you have lens curvature to the extent of about 2 to 3 nanometers. So it'd be exactly quite perfect. Fitted over a high-resolution screen, you get 3D, because what the lenses does, it distorts images sent from your left eye to your right eye, slightly different, so you get the illusion of 3D.
Now, we met last year, so and we'll talk a little bit about how you progressed, because you've progressed quite a bit since we spoke last. But what are the advantages of this technology? Why are you using this technique to make the 3D work?
Well, I think the technology, 3D has been around for 110 years. So everything that can be done, had been done, has been done. So it isn't new. Growing up, you used to have those lenticular structures. So what we have done is, in new science, what we have done is taken the same lenticular structures but applied it in a very, very small scale into nanotechnology onto a piece of plastic to make it thin so that discreetly it appears as though it's not there. And by doing that, the advantages could be when the app and the algorithm is called, images are converted into 3D.
Okay, very good, very good. So if I want to use my smartphone in traditional 2D, can I do that?
Yes, you can. It doesn't. One of the best advantages of this technology over everybody else is that it does hardly any distortion on 2D. And the reason why it can do that is because the lenses are so small that the images and the subpixels are not really touched.
Excellent, excellent. Now let's talk a little bit about software support. I mean, obviously you've done a lot of work in this regard. What kind of software can we see with Nanoveu's iFly? So iFly 3D, should I say?
Yes, right. We've been around last year, and a lot of the advances over the last 12 months have been on software. We've improved the GUI, we've developed an entire SDK so that it takes advantage of how the pixels are represented through the piece of plastic, so that we give the power of that imagery to developers, game developers, to software developers, so they can actually take our algorithm, apply it to the existing apps, and then they get 3D.
Excellent, excellent. Now, there's two sides to this. There's native 3D, where you have the dual camera rendering, like we see in movies and in video games, and then there's 2D, 3D conversion, where we take our existing content and make it 3D. I understand you're working both sides of the fence. Can you elaborate about some of the things you're doing?
Some of the biggest comment we've had and have been content. I mean, it's everyone saying that 3D content is limited, and there's not much out there, although there are tens of thousands. But no one can dispute there's a lot of 2D content. So we've had to develop the 2D to 3D converter. Now it exists both for images and for pictures, as well as for movies. And also a real-time converter for YouTube, so that you can actually call on any kind of a content, and it will in real time convert that from 2D to 3D.
Now, when we spoke last, I mean, the goal was to have this available on several models of smartphone. It wasn't quite ready yet at the time. Where are things at? What can people buy iFly 3D for?
Well, currently it retails online. You can buy it online at $26.95 for the iPhone 5 4S series. We will have the iPad versions available for pre-orders. We're looking to ship that sometime in March, and then we'll also thereafter we'll have the iPad mini versions. Now the technology is agnostic; it can be applied to any high-resolution phones and tablets. So we are coming out with models for the Sony, for the Samsung. It's just a matter of as a small company pacing the resources that we have to the available products that's available out there.
So we can look forward to Android support as well, I take it?
Absolutely, correctly.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Now, just talk a little bit about the company, because things have, of course, grown since we spoke last. I mean, you're based in Singapore. How have things progressed since we last met?
So the last time I was here, I was basically with my CTO. There were just two of us in the company. So it has grown to about 15 people, a lot more in software. We've got some seed funding. We're now progressing to the second stage of funding. We've got production all ironed out. So it's progressing well. Most importantly, we feel is that the next game changer will be in games. We will have the SDK completely wrapped up. We're going to Kickstarter. We have a different product called the iPlay 3D, where we're actually focusing on just games, and it'll be a real game changer because games ought to be played completely in 3D.
Excellent, excellent. Now, this technology, and I know I'm kind of getting you on the spot here. Sure. I mean, we're talking games and content for tablets and smartphones, but this looks like it could have other applications outside of the smartphone and tablet business. Have you been exploring that as well?
Well, there have been a lot of people that that have developed tattoo, have developed different kinds of viewing for 3D, and they're looking for a platform because they're always have to wear the glasses, the dorky glasses, which we don't. So they come to us, and in about a couple of months, we will have our SDK that we can practically give to them. And they can then develop their own viewing, their own applications. They can sit on top of what we have, and then just view everything in 3D.
But have you been looking at other applications for the lenticular itself, like security or anything like that?
Medical, we've been looking at viewing. Dassault has a viewer that they look at architectural AutoCAD drawings. We can also do that because we provide that little extra for the XYZ coordinates and allow people to see that.
Now, I know you've successfully raised seed funding. It sounds like your company's doing very well. I heard that you're looking at doing a Kickstarter as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the Kickstarter program has always been on our minds, primarily because in the game industry, you need to have mass adoption. To bring something like Angry Birds or Candy Crush into the market with a 3D flavor is obviously logical, but the next question they'll have is what's the adoption rate? How many people actually have this piece of plastic? So the Kickstarter program actually would allow us to seed the number of users out there, to be able to tell them that we've talked to these successful game companies and we want to be able to release this little piece of plastic onto their phones so they can play those games in 3D as it was intended.
Have you put some thought into how much money you're looking to raise?
We probably hope to raise about 100,000. Obviously, a lot more if we could be successful. And we're taking a different twist into it because we're actually coming in at a very low price point, about $20, and people will get the plastic, and based on the number of the amount of money we raise, we would actually have more games developed, and going to the game developers and enticing them to develop with our SDK their versions of games in 3D.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Now, as far as the manufacturing process, I remember you sent me an iFly 3D, it was like a year ago, and I understand there's been changes as to how it's placed on your smartphone to make it even easier. Can you elaborate a little bit as to what's been done?
One of the complaints we've had also is that the application of this plastic is still not trivial. I mean, it needs to be, as any screen protector, white, clean, aligned. So what we have done is that we've actually applied a little hinge, develop a hinge in conjunction with a partner, and this hinge would just act as a little lever. So when you actually apply it, the hinge would act as a fulcrum to then put the screen very easily onto your smartphone. That's available on pictorially and video on our website.
Just for our viewers, so they understand what, comparatively what we were faced. It used to be that you had to have it perfectly aligned with these lines on the screen, and if you were off, the 3D effect would fall out. So this would solve that problem, I take it?
It would be more forgiving, but if you can see this little fulcrum over here attached to the piece of plastic would actually anchor the phone at the side, so it acts as a hinge. So it would just apply onto the phone itself.
Well, congratulations on your continued success. It's really a strong message to hear that the iPad and the iPod and the iPhone can have 3D support with your iFly 3D devices. So, for people who aren't yet familiar, how can people get it for themselves?
Well, everything is available on the website www.ifly3d.com. We've set up a local U.S. company here, so everything is shipped from the U.S. So it's something that we hope people will order, and we'll hope 3D will be proliferated as we intended to.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Alfred.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with Alfred Chong, CEO of Nanoveu, makers of iFly 3D. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with more.
Thank you.